Hello, Kevin Furman here with the E3LC Leadership Training and Coaching Book of the Month. We are in actually week 3 of the book this month, and it's the Self Esteem Repair and Maintenance Manual. Oh, that's kind of wiggly. There you go. Anyway, really quick, if you haven't seen any of these before, there are a bunch out. I did recently. I put it on my own channel. There is an E3LC YouTube channel, so check that out. Search that, and you should find it. And I'm going to be putting all of these Book of the Month videos there. I'm also going to be putting up some coaching concepts as we go into the future here. So just right now, I'm putting up Book of the Month things, and it's taking longer than anticipated. So patience there if you're keeping track. But anyway, not a big deal. So I'm going to just jump into the book here. We're going to do a couple of chapters, chapters 5 and 6, and talk through those things as I was reviewing slash remembering the book, so to speak. I was amazed at some of the things that I didn't realize I took from here, and we'll get into that. Anyway, so here we go. So we're in the third kind of part of the E3 thing. So the E3 thing is three E's that I use to teach about just concepts about how to be a better leader, better person, etc. From my perspective, just humble guy. I'm not saying I know everything about being better, but just things I've learned throughout the years. But they are the three E's are effective with people, efficient with things, and encouraging with myself. And this book is in the encouraging with myself um, part of the E3 series. So anyway, this is Self-Esteem Repair and Maintenance Manual by David and Rex. We're going to go chapter 5. Okay, so chapter 5 is interestingly, I double started years ago. This must have been the book, or the chapter of the book that I thought was awesome. So, and I agree because it's called Envision. And I fancy myself someone who does have an active, vivid imagination about how things could be, seeing things as what's possible. I really, really have worked hard, and for probably 30 years. I'd have to say I've worked very hard for a long time to get to a point where when I get my hair cut, just kidding. one, one that I really want to see what's possible in the world. I don't want to just take things for what they are and like just accept that's as good as it gets. I've always kind of thought that things can always get better. There always can be a better way to do things. Is actually more closer to what I think in my brain. And so envisioning has a lot to do with that. You can't have a new future without seeing it first. Visionaries see what's possible and then work to create what they saw or what they see. It's not about stumbling along and, oh, look, this is good. I'll take this. They actually have something very purposeful in mind and they work towards that idea. And tonight, I can tell already, I'm going to be talking to myself even more so than normal because this is where I feel I'm the strongest, but yet I still have a lot of room to grow here, and that's part of the idea of envisioning is there really is no limit. We'll get to that. So, excuse me. Anyway, so in this book, they talk about really it's just like right off the bat. You think of envisioning, they're looking at it from the standpoint of like, okay, well, what if you could have anything you wanted? Really, just what would it be? And without limitations, and they go pretty heavily into that. But it's just pick something. Like, what do you really want? And I have to pause, well, intercede here for a second. That question, what do you really want, is probably my favorite question at this point in my life to ask of myself and to ask of others. I think it gets to the heart of what really motivates people and what makes them tick, and not that I want to know that to do something with it. I know that if we can get to that, they are going to have the most desire around it. They're going to have the most drive to get things accomplished. They're going to actually see what's the most impactful thing they could do with their life and make it matter, make it mean something as opposed to just exist. And so I love that question, right? And so they kind of start there. They don't say that exactly, but they just think about just spend some time. What were your dreams as a kid? That's kind of where they start. Like children just dream up stuff. They just think of their mind is just Could be this, could be this, could be this, could be that, right? And then as we get sort of knocked around with life, that sort of wanes a bit, unfortunately, right? It should be fostered, it should be is celebrated. And people have visions of what could be in their future, and then they work towards it. That should be celebrated all the time. And I think in certain circles it certainly is. I think at times our society as a whole certainly does that to a point, when it's a grand big thing. But on the day-to-day stuff, right, that's where I think people miss it. I think they miss the opportunity to encourage others to say, yeah, you can go buy that boat if you want it, rather than, oh, who do you think you are, or being jealous, not telling them that they're jealous, or just being mad about it, or just whatever. They just don't say anything, or ignore the conversation about it, or they just say, well, that'd be great, good for you, awesome. You just just in the snide comments or whatever. Okay, anyway, so part of what they're saying is that they're the thing about dreaming is when you're a kid, they don't there are no limitations because of the hard knocks haven't really happened, so there's no reason to think you can't do it. Right? There's nothing, there's no obstacles when you're a kid, because you haven't done enough yet to just know there are obstacles. Right? Which I'm laughing at just saying that. It sounds funny. So the thing is, though, those obstacles are up here. That's what's interesting about that statement. It's not so much that we can't dream anymore, is that we put so many obstacles here that it limits our brain in coming up with those visions again. Right? It's not that they're not there. Your brain is constantly trying to show you what it is you're looking for, so to speak. Your brain is trying to create what you really want, and when you put so many blocks, it goes, okay, well, I guess okay, well, then we won't. Okay, okay, well, I guess I won't. All right, well, this is good. I think so if we could like remove the blocks, like, what is that? Why is that there? Is that really serving you? Is that actually getting what you really want? If it's not, why are you listening to it? What what why? Really? Ask that of yourself. Why am I listening to the voice that says I can't? That that that's not going to get you what you really want. That's just going to have you settle for okay or good, right? Um, I said this recently to somebody in a conversation that, and that this is not me. It's just something I heard. I'm sorry, I can't give you the who said it originally, but the good is the enemy of the great, meaning that people can be comfortable, they have a decent job with benefits, and they're living wherever they want to live, suburbs or the city or wherever they want to live, but they live where they want to live. They can buy food. They're day to day they're taken care of. So they're like, no, I'm great, this is good, this is good, life is, and they'll say life is great. And yet when you really press it, what do you really want? Like, well, actually, I'd love to have $1 billion. Okay, why? Well, it'll give me more options. Okay, then why don't you go do that? Well, and then the well right there becomes all the limiting talk that goes on, and they start to spew out all that stuff. So anyway, don't let the good be the enemy of the great. If you want great, then go for great. And sometimes you got to clear out stuff up here to get to the great. I'm really talking to myself right now. How about you? All right. Anyway, so, and then what they wrote in here are questions to help you envision again, right? Which these are not, well, for me, these are things I think about often, but I don't think they're earth-shattering questions. I think just that we forget that they're valid questions. Maybe that's a good way to say it. So this is kind of to help you with the envisioning process, like put you in the right frame of mind, so you can get past the negative talk that goes on, the limiting talk that goes on in your head. So they say, when am I best able to think? Some people are night owls, right? They're clearer at night. Mornings are not so good for them. So do it at night, right? Or some people are morning people. They're not night people. They need to get to bed and they get up early and they're like, go, go, go. So mornings might be the best time, right? Some people, it's midday where they like morning, they get going and they're like, okay, now I'm hitting my stride, boom. So, kind of think about your time frame, what makes sense for your biorhythms, right? Your kind of body, will your body type, if you will, and the way you go about things. When you most able to actually just think and think clearly and not just be distracted by it. Um, which is the next question. Where's the best place for me to envision? So you want to get rid of distractions. You want to have a certain place that really helps you get in the right frame of mind of possibility, not settling for anything. Um, when I started first doing this, I, I I wanted to do it, right? That sounded weird. Of course, I wanted to do it, but I really wanted to make it work. I wanted it to happen. So I was like, well, okay, well, I don't want to be distracted, so I'm not going to do it while I'm driving. I'm not distracted while driving. Anyway, so I don't want to. My dog Duke is making his presence known. Hi, Duke. um, Here, so everybody can see you. There's Duke. Say hi, Duke. Okay, that's enough. That's Duke. All right, great. So, anyway, so where is that, right? Where can you be by yourself? Duke, this would not work right now to envision because Duke needs my attention for some reason. I think I'm talking randomly and I'm not talking to him for some reason. So he thinks. All right. Okay, next question. What should my thought process be? So they're just saying basically make it conscious, right? Don't just sit and kind of make your mind wander and whatever happens. No, like really write some things down or think about it. Like, what do I really want in the area of finances, family, friends, spirituality, career, business, hobbies, etc. Keep going, right? There's lots of areas of life. And so just look, take some time. And it's not that you have to answer all the questions in one sitting. You take some time, you think about one area, and you just really just contemplate what would it really look like if I had everything I wanted. Really think about it. Just take one day. Hobbies. To take a simpler one rather than tackle some big, gargantuan thing. Hobbies. What would you like to be doing for hobbies? Maybe you're doing exactly what you want. Some people are. Some people just, I don't know, they just kind of do it. They don't really think about it. It just distracts them rather than it being something that nurtures them or brings them joy. It's just something they created as a habit and they just keep doing it. It doesn't bring them joy anymore. And they may be good at it. And you may want to continue to do that and find the joy in it again. Or you may say, no, I want to do something else, right? And that you wouldn't know that if you just didn't take if you don't take the time to think about what you really, really want to do with that. That time you spend doing something away from career and it's just you. It's for you. And you should take time for you. That's important. That's very important. That's part of the encouraging with myself, which is why I brought that one up, I guess. That's the theme, so I'm trying to keep with the theme. Anyway, so there you go. So there's, being and then the other part is think about this, like what are the ground rules you're going to give yourself? One they bring up for sure is no negative talk. No limiting talking like, "Oh, that can't happen," or "That'll never be." None of that. Right? If you're going to envision, just envision. Just let it go. Forget rules, right? Forget that how things should be. What do you want? Which is another point they make in a minute in the chapter. So, am I being negative in my thinking? Right. So that's part of that. Is look, if you're going to be thinking about what you want, then what you don't want really isn't part of the conversation. It's sort of because you're saying what you want that eliminates all the don't wants in a way, right? When you focus purely on what it is, that one thing that you want, so to speak, then all the other options that you quote don't want, you don't have to think about those. You don't have to bring them up like, well, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't. No, I want this. Make it clear, make it simple. You don't have to spend time thinking about all the things you don't want. That actually wastes time, believe it or not. Just focus on what you do want. Why not? Why not? Letting that sit there. The other one, and here it is. Here's the question that I thought it was later, but it's right here. Am I thinking for myself? And so these guys are psychologists, and they do that kind of work in counseling, and so they find out from a lot of people that people take a career or go for something that their parents wanted them to do or that their family wanted them to do or their friends talked them into whatever, and they end up doing it, and they're good at it, they're successful, but there's no fulfillment because it wasn't them. It wasn't for them, it was for someone else, right? You were actually fulfilling someone else's dream. And not to get too heavy on that, but think about that for a moment. You're doing all this work. You're spending all your life, a third at least of your life, building someone else's dream. Why are you doing that? Well, it's a trade-off. I can tell you why most people do that. They trade that quote security for their dreams. I refuse. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for my dreams. Now, I certainly am going to fail. I'm going to have rough spots. I'm going to go through all kinds of transitions. But I'm not going to I mean, in the short term, I may do something where I'm working for someone to, and that's building their dream, but it's a short term trade off. I'm transitioning. I need to pay bills. I will do this for a short period of time and then move on. I'm actually in that transition right now. I'm finishing up, working for somebody, and I'm transitioning into just really paring down. This whole process with the books and just what I've been going through the last 6 months, and the world's been going through. This is during the pandemic of COVID. There's been a lot of introspection going on, and same for me. And I took the time to really kind of, especially lately, really get down to, what is my deal, you know, what I really want. Yeah. Anyway, a little reflection there. I hope you don't mind. All right. So one of the things they say about this whole thing. So when you're going to sit down and envision, one of their statements about this is your dreams must be conscious, positive, and for yourself, which is what those questions were. So think, when you're thinking about envisioning your future, you want to think about, it's not just, well, everybody wants this. No, 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 no. Do you want it or not? If you don't want it, then don't do it. Look, there's another variety in this world. You don't have to do what other people do. You don't have to want to travel. You don't have to want to have a big house. You don't have to want to own fancy cars and whatever, right? You don't even have to have a lot of friends. Like it's your life. Design it the way you want it to be, right? Anyway, we'll leave it like that for a second. All right, so um, so they do another little bit here on just limitations. Are dream stealers? They didn't use that terminology, but I'm going to use that terminology. Limitations are dream stealers. Eliminate limiting beliefs. Easier said than done, but worthy of work. Right there. That's really good. Okay, now then they do this little exercise. They say, pretend you find a lamp and you rub it, and there's a genie. And instead of 3 wishes, he says, he or she, pick, I don't care, whatever. He says, okay, for 15 seconds, everything you write on this piece of paper will come true. So don't spend a lot of time thinking about what to write. You just start writing because anything you write will come true. Okay, great. And you want to be in that frame of mind, positive, conscious for you. Now, that may for you may include taking care of others. That could be a part of your vision, and I would kind of fall in that camp. I want to take care of other people, my family, my friends, and then it would expand. I actually have expanded that. It's not just about them, but I would want to definitely want to include them on that. Right? And there's things I would want. Right? Unlimited finances. That might be the first thing that pops into my brain. But that wouldn't be the only thing. For 15 seconds, like 15 seconds doesn't sound long, but just think everything you could write for 15 seconds. And they say, look, do it. Here you go on this next page. They give you a blank page. They say, good. Have someone else do a timer because you don't want to be messing around with pushing buttons during your 15 seconds. Right? And you say, okay, and just go. It's your list. Go. It's a good idea. I think that's a good exercise. I did that a long time ago. I didn't do it when I read this chapter. I should have, and I apologize. But I've been doing a lot of this work already, so I know I have goals set up and I have my lists, and I'm refining and going as we go here. But I have gone through that quite a bit in the last few months. So anyway, then they say, great. Okay, here's what you do. So action step 1, envision. So you what you want to do is you like, okay, where I'm at today. What is it that I want to get accomplished? What's my vision, and when am I going to get that done? Right? And they talk about that in a little bit. And then once you do get it done, be excited about it. Right? Sit down. And we're gonna in the next chapter actually goes through this, which is I'm gonna bring up like something that is very connected to this, and I didn't realize it. So anyway, there's chapter 5. Like just envision, take the time, be conscious about it. Okay, that's chapter 5. Chapter 6 is called strategize. Now, strategy, it makes a lot of sense, right? So, and they make this point right away. They say, look, dreams are great. It's a lot of fun to think about what you could be or what's going to happen and what you're going to work towards. And wow, that's exciting. And okay, if I do this, I'm going to get there. And wow, that's cool. They said, well, you need a plan because you can't just think, well, I'm going to get there. Here we go. And no idea of how you're going to get there. Like you might make it. So, and they talk about just really anybody that's a coach for sports or a general in the army or the armed forces or whatever. They need a plan, right? You can't just say we're going to go fight. That's my plan. We're all going to fight. You need to coordinate things. There's all kinds of things, right? That's on that side. For sports, right? Okay, basketball. Everybody, dribble, don't foul, make baskets. Go. That's my plan. It probably needs more detail than that, right? So they get into that. So, and the other thing is, well, that is a plan. It's a plan, right? You can start with that, and then realize, well, maybe we need to refine. Which is, I don't know if they get into that specifically, but that's part of it, right? You start with a plan, and then you refine. Anyway, so you've got it. So before you take action, make a plan, right? You can start maybe take action here and there, but really having a plan. There's a couple things about it. One, that'll organize your thoughts and get your energy focused in a certain direction. That's probably one of the first things that's good about making a plan. Secondly, you can actually know you're headed somewhere. You're not wandering in the desert, right? You are going towards that vision because you put a plan of action in place. Now, there's different ways to do that, and they go through questions, right? And more questions about strategizing. What's interesting about this, and how what what they did, and there was one of these questions I like, wow, I missed it in what I have done in the past. That the way they asked the question was different than the way I did it, and I like theirs, so I'm gonna adopt theirs. So, but I have a feeling that this book, in some way, got in my head because there was at one point I was asking very similar questions in a very similar way, and I didn't connect the dots to the book. So apparently it works because reading, right, works because you can. Anyway, so here you go. What is my goal? Like, now, I would actually start with why why do I want this? Not what it is, but why. Now, they didn't ask that question, but I actually, a lot. Okay, their questions start with W words. What, a lot of what's, when, where, that kind of thing. And I came up with a while ago before E3 was kind of brainstormed into existence. I was using a formula of the 6 Ws. I thought that was kind of it, but that was more of a strategy kind of thing, right? I thought it was an overarching deal. Actually, wasn't big enough. It wasn't big enough for my vision of what I want to do with helping people and helping myself. So the 6 Ws were the questions you want to ask when you want to get something accomplished, right? It was kind of a goal setting kind of idea. And these questions are very much in line with those 6 Ws. I'm not going to go through it all, but the first one they don't ask that I am going to bring up is why. That's my first question. Why? Everything starts with why. Everything. Why are you doing it? Why is that? Why? Right? Little kids love to ask that question. Why? Why? I mean, they want to know. They're just curious. They're not being jerks, but it's a powerful question. Just that 3 letter word as a sentence. Why? Very powerful. If you actually answer that question and then go like 3 layers deep, say, well, why do you want the goal? Well, because it will give me this. Well, why? Because it'll make life easier in that way. Well, why? Right? You keep going. I mean, not that you want to go down 50 times, but you keep digging. You'll get down to what's really driving somebody to want to have that deal, and then there's an emotional connection to it as opposed to some idea. Again, kind of talking to myself about a certain thing I'm working on. Interesting. All right. So their first one is, what is my goal, right? Which would be, that's sort of my next question is, well, what is it? What is it you want, right? Write that down. Now they get right into this. Their next question is, my goal reachable, right? So that would, I would kind of, like, well, that gets into the what, whatever. Anyway, is it reachable? They go, if it's totally unrealistic, then you might want to rethink either the time frame or the scope. Right? If you're just like, that's not going to happen. Once you get past the envisioning, you really look at it and you go, oh boy, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fly without a plane. maybe I have to rethink that one, right? So there's things that are just completely unrealistic. Okay, fine, right? And then, but don't rule it out like right away. And that's sort of their point. Is like, don't just because it looks hard doesn't mean it can't be done. Is you have to be very honest about that unreachable, unreasonable kind of picture, and it's not because you're limiting yourself. It's just not possible. Human beings cannot do that. Okay, well, all right, then maybe I should rethink that. Right? I can't just walk to the moon. That's not possible right now, and I don't foresee a way for human beings to walk to the moon. It's a long way away, and there's really no path right now. And I don't think there's gonna be one just because of physics, right? So anyway, that's a silly example, but there's one. All right, so then it says, what is necessary to achieve this goal? So what do you need, right? What do you need to make the goal happen? Do you need more resources? Do you need more people on your team? Do you need to rethink, like to work on advertising, whatever it is. I mean, there's lots of things. Like, what do you need? What is it? What are the resources necessary? And then the another question is when. I would actually ask this question sooner, but when do you want to accomplish it? Right. So what's the due date, so to speak? When are you going to get it done? Um, if you don't have a due date, a dream is just a wish. They kind of make a point later. I'm going to bring it up right now to wrap this up pretty quick. It says, and then their next question, what are the obstacles to achieving my goal? That's a good question. And that might be one I missed in my list of things like, what's going to get in your way? It's a great question. It's a really great question. It's great. It's a question that we coaches use to ask people. Like, they see something like, oh, okay, well, what's your first step? Well, I could do this. All right, what's going to get in your way? Oh, well, because people think, well, I'm just going to do it, and then life happens, it gets in the way, and then they don't do it. Okay, great. So let's think about that ahead of time, right? What's going to get in your way? How can we mitigate that? How can we get those obstacles out of the way before you start, or at least know they're coming and plan for them, to plan to get around them, over them quicker, so you don't have to think of it as, well, see, there's proof that I shouldn't be doing it, which is what some people do with obstacles. It's actually for really far from the truth, but I've done it in the past. A long time ago, I used to think that way. But yeah, the whole thing of like, oh, there's an obstacle. Like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. They think that once they set a goal, then it's all just gonna be smooth sailing straight to the goal. That's not how most goals in the world work. The world is a messy, ugly place at times, and your plans get in its way. So it's gonna get in yours, so to speak. All right. Now the other question. This is one. This is the question that I really wish I had asked this way in the past. So I had used where, right? So in my question, I don't know what got me stuck on the way I was thinking about it, and I should have rethought that one. But I would ask this like, well, where is your goal going to happen? Where are you going to make this happen? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be, are you building something, a physical structure? Where are you doing it? Right? Just knowing your surroundings, like being aware of your surroundings and what's going to happen and managing that, which is a good question. But their question, I think, is better actually. Where am I now? So you think about, I'm going to be here, out there, right? I'm going to be out there somewhere, at this day. Well, where am I right now? And it's much like reading a map. If if you're reading a map and you want to get somewhere, let's say you want to go to Rome, Italy. Okay, great. You tell me I want to go to Rome. I say, great. That's great. I know where Rome is. Go this way. Well, depending on where you are, that might be a good answer and maybe a really bad answer. So I need to know where you are before I can give you directions to get to Rome. That's a really good question. And again, I wish I'd thought of that in my deal before. I think of it now. I don't know what got me stuck before. So I'll be changing that when I talk about my six W's. But yeah, knowing where you are now actually makes it a reference point of which now action can be taken from to get somewhere. That was a really awkward sentence. Sorry. All right. And then next question. So I'll leave it at that. What do I need to do or acquire to reach my goal? That's kind of the resource question again. Different way to take it, right? So what do I need to do or acquire, right? What resources do I need, or what actions do I need to take to get that going? What do I got to do? Let's get going on that. And then their next question: what are the intermediate steps necessary to achieve my goal? So that's another part of this, and I'm not going to get heavy into it, but that's very much like goal setting, right? Instead of thinking of, okay, I'm going to make $1 million, so tomorrow I'm going to make five. And then the next day I'll make 10, and then I'm going to make 20. You're just going to double it every day until you get a million. Okay, well, how are you going to make that money? Well, I'm just going to do it. Okay, I'm not sure that's going to be a solid enough plan, right? So what I would do is think, all right, if I'm making $1 million, how is that happening? How am I bringing in $1 million? Right? What kind of structure have I set up in place? What kind of either business or services or widget am I selling? Whatever, right? Whatever version of making money it is that you have to to net that million, so to speak, right? Or gross, depends on your goal. You got to clarify that. Okay, how are you doing it then? Okay, great. Now take that back 6 months or a year behind that, depending on how soon you want to do this. So let's say that's a 5 year goal. Okay, what about a year before that? What about a year before that? What are you doing then? What kind of structure do you have in the place to set up that $1 million net, right? Is it halfway at the halfway point, or is it going to be kind of more of a geometric curve where you're not even a third of the way halfway there? That sounded weird. And then a year out, it's starting to take off, and then boom, a year in, it takes and you get the million, right? So like thinking it through like that. Now, the last thing is just remember they were saying like, what do people? Why don't people do this, right? Um, so they say, well, you want to write down your goals because that's how you're going to get stuff done. Write them down. So don't just think about it. And they say, well, writing goals. They say here are the reasons people say that they don't or they don't take the time to do this. Number one, takes too much time. Two, I don't know what goals to write. Three, because they haven't spent the time envisioning. Three, I'm afraid if I write them down and don't accomplish them, I'll feel bad. Certainly fall in that category too much. Number four, I don't know how to write goals, which this book lays out, right? And there's plenty out there, but people don't hear this all the time. It's better now than it used to be. Number five, it really doesn't matter. As long as I think about them, I'll be able to achieve them. Better than not having it, but it's been proven over and over and over that people write down their goals are a much higher percentage of achieving than people that don't. Much higher, like crazy high. The last one, someone might see them and laugh. That's another one that people do is, if you have these big audacious goals, people will be like, really? You? Oh man. And it, like, wow, that really can cut. Now they may just be making a joke or they may be saying things to save your feelings. Like they're trying to help you not feel bad about not achieving it. But what they're doing basically is just stealing your dream because they don't have the vision you did. They can't see that it's possible. They see their limited version of life, right? So anyway, blah 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 blah. Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. All right. So goals. So if you want goals, right? Here we go. Must be achievable and written with a realistic timeline. That, in a nutshell, that's really it. And there's a lot of versions of that. There's SMART goals, which is very common, super common. When I first heard of that, I was like, wow, this is new revelation. It had been around for decades, but I didn't know that, so I thought it was really cool, and I was using it too. So, and I still do. And versions of it. There's two or three different versions I used given the situation. Straight up SMART goals. There's a version called Smarter goals, and then there's Aim Smart. All right, and it doesn't matter right now, but there are different ways to think about the whole SMART goal idea or setting goals. I think it's very, 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 very cool. All right, so make sure that you spend some time doing that. Then and then you work on your strategy and your strategies. So you write your goal, list all the things you need. What resources do you need? Be realistic. When do you think you can get it done? List all the obstacles that are going to probably come up, and then what are things you have now that will help you? Like, what are your resources you have? What do you got going on? Which I think I kind of skipped through that step a little bit. Sorry. And what do you need to do right now to acquire that goal? So, what are the things that you have to get? Do you need a new degree? Do you have to learn new skills? Do you have to whatever, right? So, what are the things you need to do to make that goal happen? And then start writing down steps and work from where the goal is at the end and work backwards. There's a few ways to think of that. One common one is scope and sequence. So you see further out, that's the scoping, and then scope and sequence. So you work your way backwards to step now, right? 5 years out, 4 years out, 3, 2, 1, 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month. It's week today. What am I doing today about that? On the way to get to the 5 year. So there you go. That is chapter 6, right? So a lot of stuff. All right. So That's that. Hopefully that's been helpful. I think I've actually had a couple insights myself and just talking about this. So if you happen to see this video, feel free to comment and or send me an email, kfurman@e3lc.net. Let me know what you think, ideas for new books or thoughts you had about anything that I talk about in these chapters. Feel free to jump in anytime, right? You don't necessarily have to read the book. It's helpful, but you don't have to. It's fine, but it'd be great to have some people on to have a conversation about things, what they're seeing, their insights, what they've learned, or things that they haven't learned yet that they're struggling with. Like, well, how do I get around this? Maybe we can talk about that, right? So anyway, thanks again for checking it out. I'll see you next time for the next couple of chapters in the book, and you have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.